Awesome. Okay, everybody, welcome to the quarterly content training. This is QCT4. We have made it to the fourth quarter. We have to give ourselves a small little celebration for that because this is the final stretch of our school year. So yay, take a moment to enjoy that. Give yourself a pat on the back. We love it. We'll go ahead and introduce ourselves. I am one half of the elementary mathematics team. I am Valerie Bocci. You may have seen me floating around campuses or in other professional trainings. We do all things K to 5, and I could not do it without the wonderful supportive help of my better half, which is...
Hi, I'm Tasha Frazier. I'll be serving as a facilitator today and toggling back and forth, answering any questions that you may add to the chat.
Thank you. Awesome, Tasha. We're so happy you're with us tonight.
Okay, so yes, we are going to have a lot of fun by showing you some resources that we learned within the last 2 weeks that were developed by great minds with our module overviews, and that's all going to lead to our small group resources that you all should be familiar with, and if you're not, you're going to really get into that. So our learning objective, you are going to learn about student experiences and the support for quarter 4. And then you'll be able to describe how those resources impact student learning. So as you can see, we do have pictures that we'll be using throughout the session that are evidence of the support that you all are giving in the classrooms. Now, how are we doing this? And I know that you all have seen this a million times, and we want to make sure that we're going to provide effective instruction to reach all learners with excellence.
Our target and our why. As a district, we do have the general goal of 90%. Almost every one of our students, 90% of our students will be on grade level. 90% of our students will be what, everybody?
On grade level.
Yes, and that's based on their absolute performance. Now, when we take that 90, we're going to cut it up into 2 other circles. One of those circles is 60%. So 60% of our scholars will be at the MEET performance level. Here in grades 3, 4, and 5, we live and breathe by the MEET approaches, masters, all of those types of levels. So 60% of our learners for our goal will be at MEET, and 30% of our learners will be at that masters. So once again, that's our target and our distance and what we are aiming for as a district. And our plan. Our plan, of course, in order to achieve those is to have great instructional delivery and design. And so we do these PDs to kind of fill you up with some knowledge that you need to share with our learners and how to implement those things in your classroom. Session resources. Tasha's going to go ahead and put into the chat for us a link. And that link, or if you want to use the bit.ly or the QR code, if you want to capture it on your phone, I do recommend using the bit.ly or the link in the chat so you can have a tab that's open because it's going to take you to a resource page. And this resource page has all the goodies that you're going to need to follow along with our PD for tonight. You will see some of them are highlighted. So those are some of the newer resources that we've added just for this evening's presentation. So please make sure that you do have it available. Okay, so as we continue through and as we continue to log into that resource that we have, we're going to move on and we're going to take a look at some of these module overviews. And it's just going to be a flyby of the modules that we're looking at in this last quarter for grades 3, 4, and 5. Now, in order for us to do this, typically Eureka is going to tell you to read the module overview, which is 2 to 3 pages of information. That is fantastic and wonderful and helpful. But we do have a new resource that they have just come out with, and it's
exciting.
Oh, it's super. Tasha and I spent days on this one. We were chatting about it. So if you go to the Great Minds from your Clever, it will have additional resources, and it will have for you to access what is called a model progression resource. You go to Clever. This one actually is on the Texas resource, isn't it, Tasha? I have to stand and correct myself. This is on the
place both of them in there. Yes.
Website. Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. So our participants, you in the audience, can go ahead and join us just by the link in the chat. And again, you'll find yourself with additional resources. To access the resources, pick your grade level. And once you pick your grade level, what I want everybody to do is take a look at the very last module that is represented for your grade level. So if you click on 4, take a look at the last module in grade 4. Grade 5, you're going to take a look at the last module. Grade 3, you're also going to take a look at that last module. And as you take a look at them, what you're going to start to see are wonderful representations of what is being taught in each of these modules. And when I say representations, it's all the models. So instead of the words and the story, which is always fantastic to read with the module overview, you're going to get to see the models and the pictures that students will be drawing throughout the course of the module. So again, what I would like everybody to do is open it up for their grade level, go to their last module, and take a look at all those different models that we're going to be working with. Anybody from third grade, come off of mute and tell us what kind of models did you see upcoming in your module? What models did you see for grade 3 upcoming in your module? Somebody come off a speaker.
What did you all see?
We discussed shapes.
Okay. Yes, go ahead, Michelle.
Oh, I just said we discussed shapes and classifying shapes.
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect. That about sums it up for what you're going to be doing in
Mhm.
grade 3. You're going to be doing a
Mhm.
ton of geometry and measurement, talking about those different types of shapes. Thank you. Grade 4, somebody come off of mute and tell us what kind of things did you see in those models in the upcoming module for grade 4?
Place value discs.
Place value discs. Okay. And what are you doing with those place value discs?
We are representing the values of those digits or the values and the places for adding and subtracting whole numbers, for representing the value or using expanded notations to interpret which is places 10 times more or 10 times 1/10 less.
Okay. And
Also
that's in the-
comparing and ordering whole numbers. We're using those place value discs for comparing and ordering those whole numbers. Also with the decimals. We're using place value discs with the decimals. We're comparing those decimals. We're identifying the value for each digit in a decimal number. So place value disc is very used
Yes.
with numbers and operations.
Did you see anything in regards to conversions upcoming in your module?
With
Anybody from
all the
grade 4?
progression, with the time that was
Yes,
given.
the import
Mhm.
output table.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry?
look
Say
on
that one more
slide
time.
40.
The input output tables.
Input
Yeah,
output table.
convert.
Yep. So you definitely do have that coming up in grade 4. Thank you. All right, let's jump to our last grade, grade 5. What did you guys notice coming up in the next module in regards to the models that you'll be working with? Grade 5.
It's a progression of coordinates and coordinate plane.
Yep, you're doing a whole bunch of stuff graphing on the coordinate plane. That's for sure. It's actually kind of a fun unit to do as a grade 5 teacher, one that I always enjoyed myself. So as we go ahead and move forward, we're going to start with our grade 3. And I know that not everybody in here teaches grade 3, but I do have to tell you what you're going to hear on this grade 3 slide is going to be helpful for you in grades 4 and 5. So do keep an ear open. For grade 3 upcoming in the next quarter, we have 3.6a, which is classifying and sorting those shapes. And you did mention you saw lots of different things about those shapes. When we look at our data historically, we can see on our slide, how have we performed as a district? What percentage have we done? In that orange shape at the top, somebody read that number for me. We have done what percent?
37%.
37%. So in regards to past testing, with 2 questions on the assessment, our third graders can get 30% accuracy in regards to sorting those shapes. So how are we going to approach this moving forward? Well, we all know that one of the biggest things with geometry and shapes, whether you are in 3rd, 4th, or 5th grade, because we all have to cover geometry at some point, the biggest thing is going to be vocab. And vocab can be quite a task for these learners. So if we take a look, you do have a link to this on your resource page, but I'm going to link us there. And it is familiar terms in the module. And so Eureka believes that our third graders already are familiar with terms such as area, edge, face, parallel, parallelogram, all of those different types of things. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, my third grade teachers. How do we think, even my 4th and 5th grade teachers, thumbs up, thumbs down, how do these kids do and 3, 4, or 5 with these vocab. Yeah, I know in my classroom, learners totally struggled with vocab all the way up to 5th grade. So we need to know walking into this quarter that they already believe they have this basis of knowledge with vocab terms, which we can argue. So they do start around the 7th lesson in the module doing this physometry, which I actually call it the total physical response. And it's the kinesthetic, it's the movement. And one of the best ways to be able to do vocabulary is to do it with a type of movement. And so they're talking about things such as right angles. And in their fluency, they're going to tell you to stretch one arm directly towards the ceiling and stretch the other arm parallel. So they're going to tell you as a teacher to do this. And then they're going to ask the kids, okay, what shape or angle have I created? And the kids are supposed to just be able to answer what. What angle do you think we're trying to create with our arms here?
Right angle?
Right.
angle.
Yeah, look, Tasha's back.
I'm trying, trying to get in the picture.
So what I'm suggesting, and this is for 3, 4, and 5, because vocab terms are really important in geometry for all of them, is I'm taking it to a Simon Says type of thing. So for example, Simon says, show me a right angle. And you're going to already have instructed and taught your kids to do something along the lines of this. Simon says, show me perpendicular. You're going to do the same thing because perpendicular forms right angles. Okay. Simon says, show me parallel. And you're going to have your kiddos do their arms like this for parallel. Simon says, show me another parallel because it's not always up and down. There we go, Victor. Yep, we've got it side to side. Simon says, show me another parallel. We can do it a little bit on an angle. Okay. So we can definitely add to that fluency instead of just the teacher doing it and the kids giving the name of the response. We can add to it a type of Simon Says so that the kids can do it themselves. You'll also notice for that vocab word, if you go into the Eureka progression module for grade 3, and this is going to be true for all the other grade levels, where we talk about attributes, Eureka doesn't have a glossary in their book. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, I kind of miss having that glossary at the end to find that vocab word and just get like the textbook definition of the vocab word so that I can build my word wall. So when we look at the progression models that we have for 3, 4, and 5, any unit that's very heavy with vocab, they're going to have this handy dandy vocab list for you. So it's a great resource for all grade levels, not just grade 3 in geometry right now, but all grade levels to be able to get those vocab words that we've been missing so far this year. Okay.
And
All right.
Valerie, let me also share, I'm going to put a link in the chat as well on a larger sheet. It's also on the family tips page for 3rd grade module 7, page 4. So I'll share that in the chat as well.
Perfect. Now in 3rd grade, we also do some area and perimeter, the next one. So we do some measurement and some data, but our scores on the end of the year assessment are definitely better in those areas than they are in this geometry. So that's why tonight we focused on some of these geometry helpful hints of instruction. When we move forward with it and we want to unpack the standard, we can see that we have to do things such as classifying and sorting. We have to classify figures. We have to classify their shapes. We have to sort the figures. We have to sort the shapes. It's an awful lot to do. Eureka has about 4 or 5 lessons that encompasses this. So once again, it's going to probably be important that even though you only focus on it for those 4 or 5 lessons, that you use those fluencies of Simon Says with the vocab on a regular basis. So kiddos have more than 4 or 5 days to become familiar with it. All right, grade 4, here we go. For my 4th graders, we had discussed that we saw some conversion tables, some place value discs, and the like. And for 4th grade, we do see that the models that we're seeing do a lot in regards to, they're going to have to do adding and subtracting because that's going to be some of their exploring measurement and conversions. And they're going to have to do some data tables. But 4th grade teachers, take a look at our data point on the top of the screen. How have we done historically in regards to converting on our end of the year assessment? What percent?
25%.
Yes, 25%. And historically, there's 2 questions on there. 25%. I do like to tell people that, you know what? It sounds kind of strange, but there is a little bit of a silver lining to a low number because, to be honest, we really can only go up. And so any extra effort we put into our teaching in regards to these standards is going to make a huge impact to increase it from that 25%. So how are we going to go ahead and increase it? Well, first and foremost, if you are a 3rd grade teacher, I would like you to wave. I'd like you to take a bow because you have done a fantastic job as the 3rd grade preparing our kiddos in grade 3 with in and out tables. As a district, we have a 62%. So once again, my 3rd grade teachers, thank you, thank you, thank you. Wherever you may be, we appreciate that 62%. So they're really good at input-output tables coming to us in grade 4. So Eureka is going to continue that, and they're going to continue it with our conversions. They're also going to do a lot of hands-on. And when we talk about hands-on, they're saying that over this spring break, you need to come up with the balance scale, mass weights, gallons, quarts, pints, cup containers, all of those types of things. Now that's kind of a big ask. We understand. We do know the kit came with 1 balance scale and 1 set of those mass weights. So what I want to share with everybody, whether you are a 3rd or 5th or 4th grade teacher, is Dallas has a resource science center. The Resource Science Center has a link to it. It is its own web page within the district. On the top, it has different categories. And let's just go ahead to lab and field equipment. As we can see on the screen, magnifiers and all sorts, but if I scroll down, there's rulers, meter sticks, tape measures, thermometers, stopwatches, scales, those little mass sets that we need, the scales that we need. We can complete an order form and we can have them deliver from the Science Center to our school sets of materials that we want to borrow or loan while we teach these lessons. Okay. So again, that Science Resource Center is going to have some of these materials that you desperately are going to need. Large measuring cups, the plastic sets, the pan balance, those types of items. So please go ahead and take a look at the Science Center. I know you're a math teacher, but it's still available for you. Fill out the order form. The website has all those directions. And if you go to your resource page, you can see it's highlighted in blue, and it'll take you right to that link so you can fill out the form and order what you need. So I go in slideshow mode. A lot of the fluency that we do in 4th grade is going to start with the teacher just standing in front of the classroom and saying to the kids, how many meters are in 1 kilometer? And I have to be honest, in my 4th grade classroom, if I said that as a fluency, my kids are not going to automatically know that answer. I'm going to have crickets and silence in my classroom. So what I'm suggesting is for all of these fluencies, because you do something like this every day as you start your lessons, get out your STAR reference chart. Grades 3 and 5, do you have a STAR reference chart? You do. So if you want to go back and review some of those fluency problems that deal with things such as days, weeks, time, other sorts of measurements that 3rd graders and 5th graders have to know, get out the STAR reference chart. And so instead of just saying how many meters are in 1 kilometer and standing in front of my kids waiting for them to respond, I'm going to have on the board, I'm going to have in front of those kiddos a STAR reference chart. And now when I say, how many meters are in 1 kilometer? I should be able to hear from everybody in the room. What answer? How many meters in 1 kilometer?
1,000.
Awesome. Thank you. 1,000.
1,000.
And then as Eureka Fluency goes on, it says things like if there's 1 kilometer and 1,000 meters, 2 kilometers is going to have, and I'll hear from my kiddos.
2,000.
2,000. There you go. Thank you, Dr. Bates.
2,000.
Perfect. And with the STAR reference chart, the kids will be able to catch that pattern and at least get the starting line so that they know what that base conversion looks like. And then it goes on, it does the same thing with liters. Okay. But again, every grade level that we have tonight with us, does have a STAR reference chart. So please, when you find yourself with these fluency activities, don't expect kids to just have them memorized. Give them the helper that they will have on their test with the STAR reference chart. Now it's 25% on the test, but if we take a look, how many weeks approximately have we used to address this standard? Take a look at your screen and see if you can tell how many weeks have we used or will we use to address 4.8 C. It started all the way back in September. Whoops. We did it a little bit more in March, and we've got 3 upcoming weeks. So in all, it's going to be a 5-week total of addressing this standard. So I really do think that we will have a great success rate this year coming up with these questions. Okay. 5th grade. Let's take a look at what you have coming up. As you guys had mentioned, you've got the coordinate plane. Now, your data is not so bad, guys. It's at least above 50%. So when we look at 5.8A, what percentage do we have, 5th grade teachers? Our attributes?
57.
57. And 5.8C, graphing, what percentage do we have? And there were 3 questions. 3 questions is a ton of questions for one standard.
53.
53%. Yep. So we did have that quite a bit tested on the STAR. Once again, if you are a 3rd grade teacher, and I really like to be able to see my 3rd grade teachers right now. If you are a 3rd grade teachers, we have to say big old thank you to you. Send out our heart and our love, because 3rd grade teachers, when it comes to input-output tables, you got those babies up to 62% understanding. And we're going to use a lot of input-output tables. When we look at 5.8C, it even states they're going to graph from input-output tables. Okay, so that work continues in grade 3. It continues in grade 4, and it even continues in grade 5. Those input-output tables are so important throughout all of our grade levels. Helpful hints. Once again, they bring in a Simon Says factor. Okay, and what they do with this one is they once again have the teacher model it, and the kids just say what the teacher's modeling. Well, I'm going to tell you that when we talk about horizontal, as a teacher, you may want to say something like, all right, boys and girls, Simon says, show me horizontal. And it's okay to have your kids actually stand up in the classroom. How often do we let those babies stand up? So go ahead, let them stand up. And as a teacher, you're going to say, all right, boys and girls, Simon says, show me horizontal. And you'll teach them how to stick out their arms and possibly face a neighbor. So if there's 2 of us with our arms stuck out like this, ask the kids, why do you think this is a good way to show horizontal? So think about this, educators. 2 people facing each other. Our arms are meeting in the middle across. What does that look like for the kids? And why would that be a good way to show horizontal? Any ideas?
Makes the letter
Beginning.
H.
Yes, it makes the letter H, horizontal, letter H, okay? So these babies, when you say, Simon says, show me horizontal, and they look at each other and make the letter H, they're going to know that horizontal is the one that goes side to side, left to right. Fantastic. As we continue with it, we're going to do vertical. Vertical is a vocab word even 3rd and 4th graders need to know. And when we do vertical, we're going to teach our kiddos that when Simon says vertical, they're going to hold their arms up like a letter V. And so as we do Simon says, show me vertical with our arms up as a letter V, why would this be helpful? As a 5th grade teacher, if we go back to our slide deck and we talk about the vertical number line being the y-axis, why is this letter V that I'm forming also helpful in remembering the y-axis is the vertical axis? Why is that helpful?
Looks like a Y.
Sure does. It looks like the letter Y. Okay. So that makes it easy for those kids to remember what those vocab words mean. We can also do Simon says, show me the origin. And for show me the origin, we want to know that the origin is 0, 0. So our kiddos can definitely make zeros with their hands. And it also talks about parallel and perpendicular, which in the grade 3 one, we went ahead and we showed parallel another set of parallel, another set of parallel, perpendicular was the right angle. So Simon Says can be done throughout all of those fluencies for 3, 4, and 5 to help you in regards with those vocab words, okay? Unpacking the standard, we covered this in about 3 weeks. So hopefully, fingers crossed, 3 weeks of some Simon Says and some really good vocab, we'll be able to go from a 57 up higher in regards to our STAR understanding, okay? Now, what I want you all to do is you have your whole class instruction, you know what you're talking about, but who here in the group has ever used iReady? Either show of hands. Ooh, we've got some good ones, Tasha. Look at this.
I know, that's exciting. We have some experts in the
Those
breakout
of you
room.
cameras off if you want to use your emoji. Yep, Miss Daniels, you got a thumbs up. So Miss Daniels, you're using iReady. Thank you so very much. Anybody else that's using iReady? I can see 4th grade. Brown is using it. Fantastic. Janice Jones in 5th. Wonderful. We are going to take a moment and look at iReady. So what we're going to do is we are going to be very clever and we are going to be ready with our teacher toolbox. I want to hear that. We're going to be very clever. We're going to be ready with our teacher toolbox.
You're so smart.
Okay, one more time. We're going to be very clever.
Clever.
And ready.
And
Ready.
With our teacher toolbox.
With our teacher
toolbox.
So what does all that mean? That means that we're going to head to clever. And we're going to be very clever. And we're going to head to iReady. And when we get to iReady, we're going to be ready with our teacher toolbox. And that teacher toolbox is going to take us to the different grade levels. And for grade 3, I'm working on my geometry. And so possibly for my geometry, I'm going to scroll down and find, sorry if I'm making you Zoom dizzy. I'm going to solve with capacity, liquid capacity, my shapes, all of those types of things. And I'm going to explore anything that it has in regards to a teacher type of resource, okay? And so when I do that with my teacher toolbox, I can see that lesson 25, a teacher-led activity, is there, and it's going to look something like this. It's going to tell you the shapes that you have. It's going to tell you steps to do with your kiddos. Now, you may notice that some of these lessons are going to be longer, so you may have to do a lesson in a small group over 2, maybe 3 days, but you can break it apart as you want to. So what I want everybody to do is I want everybody to be clever and be ready with their teacher toolbox and look for some things that will help support you in your small groups. So we're going to give you a breakout room time to find those things where you are clever and ready with your toolbox to help small group instruction. So Tasha will go ahead and get our breakout rooms ready for our grade levels. Once again, you're going to be
open,
clever and ready with your teacher toolbox and find a lesson that's going to address what you need to do during this 4th quarter with those low standards. So for 5th grade, take a look at the low standards for graphing. 4th grade, it's the low standards for conversion. 3rd grade, it's classifying and sorting 2- and 3-dimensional shapes. And we'll give everybody, what do we have, Tasha, about 6 minutes?
Yes, let's do that.
Okay, we'll give everybody about 6 minutes in their small group to find a very clever and ready teacher toolkit lesson to use in small groups. So hopefully you had a moment to share a screen and explore some of those iReady resources for quarter 4 coming up in regards to those low data points for 3, 4, and 5. Let's go ahead and start with our 5th grade. We usually save them for last, but let's start with grade 5. Somebody in the grade 5 group, were you able to, and what did you discover in your iReady exploration? Somebody from grade 5.
Oh, let's see who that is. Awesome.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. We're excited to hear you.
Okay. So we were one of the other ladies, Miss Bowling, in our group was talking about how they use it for the mastery check. And here at Smith, we've started using it for small groups, and the concept, I can't remember the exact title of it, concepts, and it has a concept check for every single TEK in the toolbox. So we've started using it for our small groups and that with that piece.
Awesome. Fantastic. iReady is also what the district uses for the MTSS tracking. So if you are doing some type of interventions that you want to be able to document and track for a kiddo, you will find that iReady and those teacher-led activities are what you will participate in and track for your scholars. Okay. Thank you. Grade 5. Let's go ahead and jump down to grade 3. Anybody in grade 3? Tell us, what did you discover? What did you see? Was there a fun lesson that you found? What did you all learn in your exploration?
I was sharing my screen with my group because our school has already been using the Think It Up resources in iReady. So I was showing them that when you click on the teacher toolbox and at the top you select Think It Up and then math or reading, it has its own set of lessons and it sorts them by TEK. So if you're not familiar with the TEKs, you can hover over the number and it'll tell you, what that TEK is and what your students are expected to do. And then it has a pre-assessment, guided instructions, and other assessments. So you can just, go in order from left to right and assign and work with your students in that order so you don't get, confused over what to assign, what not to assign. It's very simple and strategic and in order. I like that.
Perfect. I'm glad that you do have a campus that's using that iReady resource for you. And again, for those of you that have not been using it, the iReady is a great tier 2 and tier 3 resource to use with your learners. And if you have to do any type of formal documentation for MTSS, you're going to find that in iReady. Wonderful. And who did I miss? Grade 4. Anybody from grade 4?
This is Miss Simon. As we were looking through the toolbox, there was an activity that did catch my eye, which led to real world application or real world understanding. So when they're doing that 4.8A, where they have to measure identify those relative sizes. So that kind of helps with that, because that activity just focused on what was going on, the things in the classroom, like as far as like 1 meter, find something in the classroom that is 1 meter or so forth, or so many centimeters. So I thought that one was really good to address that particular SE.
Awesome.
And then there were other activities that could be found in there for concept development. And as far as, just practice learning to go through a actual measurement problem and just kind of, work your way through. So those were really good activities in there.
Awesome. Thank you. And I do know that relative measurement size, like what's approximately a meter, what's approximately this, that's something that's done in 3rd grade too. So definitely, if they have that for our grade 4 teachers, I bet they do have something very similar for our grade 3 teachers to support them if they need to review that standard.